Good evening, everybody. This is the November 10th meeting of the Grosse-Ile Township Public Services Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
under God,
one nation,
with liberty and justice.
under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Phil, how are you? I see your picture there.
I'm here.
Good, good. So we'll call roll. Costick here. Kennedy.
Here.
Schmidtke.
Present.
Reilly.
Here.
Siraki.
I'm here.
Budny.
Present.
And Ted is not here. And we haven't heard from Lenny Pusdesris, so he may arrive at any time. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this evening's agenda with one stipulation. Since Mrs. Van Fossen is here, I'd like to move up item 11A under reports on the glass recycling. I want to introduce Mrs. Van Fossen, and we'll have a little discussion about where we are with the glass recycling.
I move that we approve the agenda with that adjustment.
Thank you.
I second.
I will second it.
Thank you. If there's no discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 We got everybody counted?
You didn't hear less there.
Aye, so motion passed. So with that, we have the agenda approved, and I'd like to ask Mrs. Van Fossen, Diane Van Fossen, to come up to the podium. And I want to also announce that in the audience tonight is David Nadeau, our newly elected treasurer for the island. Welcome, David. Thank you. And it's very possible, I think, Mr. Supervisor, that Mr. Nadeau will occupy your seat on the commission.
That's very possible.
So I have a little story for anybody that's watching to tell you. Is our current supervisor, Brian Loftus, got an email one day from a citizen, Diane Van Fossen, inquiring about why we aren't recycling glass. And it turns out that Diane on her own did some research, found a firm in Detroit on Wyoming Street that is called Glass Recycles. We got in contact, both Derek, Thiel, myself, as chair of the commission, and Diane arranged for a meeting with our waste hauler, Priority Waste, and glass recyclers. We visited at their facility, and frankly, I was very impressed with their processing. Now, most of the glass they receive is not municipal collected. Most of the glass they receive, it looks like, are from bars and food restaurants. There were tons of liquor bottles, but real glass. And they crush it to the point where it's like a heavy sand, and it's shipped off to Ohio, a place in Ohio and Indiana, and it's reused to make new glass. So we were very impressed with that, and so we all agreed at the meeting that we would try to do some glass recycling. And with that, Diane, I want to thank you for being a citizen that followed through on this, got everybody active here, because we weren't doing it, as you know. And let's start with your opening comments. So thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you and Derek and Brian, who did listen to me when I made a phone call, and to the VP, Doug, at Glass Recyclers, who did field my phone call and helped me figure out how we could get it going. I moved to the island probably 11 years ago from Holland, Michigan, and I was really impressed with the adjacency to all the natural resources of the island. And when we lost the glass recycling, it just didn't seem in keeping with what the island really was about, and that's really utilizing natural resources. I've been leader of research and development groups for Herman Miller and Lazy Boy, and so I understood materials really well. So I knew that glass could be recycled, and glass actually can be recycled indefinitely. Every glass can be recycled over and over and over again. It's a constant stream. And that 10% of the cullet, which is what you described when the glass is broken down into that sand-like stuff, is reused, and every 10% of that goes into virgin material reduces energy by 2 to 3%. And one recycled bottle is enough, provides enough energy for a 100-watt light bulb to burn for 4 hours, versus one bottle that goes into the landfill will take over 1 million years to break down. So the fact that Groseal is doing this is really significant to the environment. And again, Derek and you, Bill, really helped make this happen as well as glass recyclers. And it's going well, with the exception of, we had a little hiccup recently. We've had one load, the first load, about in August timeframe. When we made the agreement to trial this, priority was great to give the dumpster and to make the lid with the holes so that only glass bottles could be recycled, because glass can only be recycled if it goes contaminant free, which is why curbside recycling really isn't a very good option, because it does get contaminated in the curbside. So more and more materials are probably going to have to go single stream because of that, but glass is primarily one of those. So it is really important that the dumpster does not get contaminated, and I know that Derek has put really great signage on, so it's bottles and jars only. You take off the metal lids so it can go into the holes. It can't have light bulbs or ceramic or plates, so really bottles and jars. And the dumpster, I believe, Derek gets, once it gets filled, we call and it gets turned around and emptied within 4 hours. So if it does get filled, take your materials back to your home and just wait a day and come back, because that was one of the problems that we had. As people then, when it would be filled, the couple times, load 2, I think, when it was filled, people would just set their material alongside the dumpster. And I kind of laughed, because when I saw the pictures, it reminded me of my kids who put the dishes in the sink. And it's like, who do they think is going to put that into the dishwasher? So, it's not the township's job to put the glass into the dumpster. It's our, as citizens, to put it in the dumpster. And so please, if it's filled, take it home and come back. It will be ready for you within a day. And then also make sure it's not contaminated. We did have the unfortunate loads 2 and 3 were contaminated. And our glass recyclers had indicated that if that continued, we would not be able to continue the program. And I know that the program is really a success for many in the island, and I think we're just going through those growing pains of really understanding how it works and what you can put into the dumpster. And so this is sort of a plea to read the signage in terms of what can be put in the dumpster. Again, be responsible. If it's filled, take your things away, bring it back, because it isn't anybody in the township's responsibility to clean up after ourselves. It's ours as citizens, and we can keep the program successful. I know that there was a article in the Groseal website that showed pictures of the issues that we had with load 2 and 3. I also posted some things on my own social media and on the Nextdoor. And I think that's worked really well, because load 3 has been great and uncontaminated. So I think we're going through growing pains, and so we just want to ask that everyone really follow the kind of signage on the dumpster, and I think we'll be able to really boast that Groseal's been able to have a successful program, because other communities have tried and failed. particularly because of the contamination issue. And so I just know Gross Eel can do it and do it well, so.
Well, and I want to say thanks to you and your efforts,
Yeah.
so appreciate that. Derek, are you walking out? Oh, so with that, one of the things, oh, sure.
Sure.
Are any of the businesses utilizing that service on the
I
island?
don't believe so. It's really for private residences.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny. I know that with COVID, you know, we all had a lot of, I had a lot of wine bottles anyway, you know, and so it was really well received, especially during that lockdown time when we were, you know, but it's primarily for residents. It's not for businesses. It's for individual Gross Eel residents.
And on your point, Laura, I think one of the takeaways from our meeting was that their business, Glass Recyclers' business,
Right.
is generated mostly from restaurants and bars.
Right, and that's
So
why
even
I
on the
thought-
island here, like the
Would
Country
obviously
Club and
have,
a couple of the restaurants, right?
Glass.
Yeah.
But they, yeah, this is, you're absolutely correct. This is supposed to be for the residents.
Residents only. It's,
The businesses have their own pickups.
Well, and I also want to acknowledge that this commission, you know, there's a cost factor.
Right.
We knew full well that this may cost us, I think your estimate was between $4,000 and $6,000 a year, depending on how many loads. We didn't know we were going to experiment with it. But this commission fully, unanimously authorized us to proceed with the effort. Derek, you've been
Thank you,
deeply
thank you
involved
very
in this. You read a statement. You don't have to read the whole thing, but you have any comments here?
I'm going to put a sign up there. This is off topic. John mentioned to me from the crew in the back room, the WOW feed doesn't have any audio. So anybody that's watching on WOW, they're not getting the audio. They can watch this via Facebook, on YouTube, Gross Eel's website. And I'll put a sign up on there. Obviously, if they don't have audio, they don't hear me saying this, but at least we can put something up there directing them where to go. I'll do that in a second. But to answer your question, well, Diane did a very good job of expressing the process that we went through, some of the challenges we faced, the efforts that have gone into making this happen. And like she said, there is going to be some growing pains. We hope that, we'll be able to continue this. We just need to make sure that those that are using the container are being good stewards and doing it the right way. And I know that they will. I mean, recyclers, not to, stereotype them, but I think they're doing it because they want to see it work. They want to, continue the program. They're making the effort to bring their stuff down here. And if that's the case, modifying what they put in there, I don't think is going to be a problem to make sure that it continues. So I'm optimistic we can continue it.
I'd just like to encourage citizens to really be an active part of solution. So when you see something that you'd like to improve in the township and on Gross Eel, work with your elected officials. I've found them incredibly helpful and supportive. And, when you get everyone all in a room and you've defined the problem, it can get solved. So I was really encouraged with how easily it was to work with you all and how really you embraced the program and made it work. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to say I'm very pleased that you did that, and absolutely, that's what we want from our residents. We can't think of everything, and even things we may think of and dismiss. A resident can bring a different perspective to things, and we can always go back and change something or do something that we haven't done before. We really need resident input in everything, and unfortunately it's tough to get on this island, but thank you for doing
You're
your
welcome.
part.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And since we're on TV and many people watch this, so we're talking strictly when you recycle glass. And we talked this morning, Diane and I did, and I said, it seems to me that anybody that makes the effort to come to township office to recycle their glass, save it up and recycle it, ought to conform to the regulations, because they're trying to do the right thing to begin with.
They are trying to do
so
the right
we,
thing.
coffee cups, mugs,
No.
ceramic is a no-no. Dishware is a no-no.
Bill, just,
Bottles and jars, and I
And
suppose
take the metal
metal
lids
tops
off
off.
of the,
make
the
sure
jar.
they're at least a little bit rinsed off. Go ahead.
one thing worth mentioning, the processor that we're taking the material to, they do about 200 tons per day. Our container is about 1.5 to 2 tons. So if they receive any contamination that creates problems in the plant from our minuscule amount that they're getting per day, it's very easy for them to say it's not worth it because it's just such a small portion, and that only goes there maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. So it's very easy for them to say it's contaminated, we don't want it, it's more hassle than it's worth. So it's very important for us to maintain the market that we have for the products that we have here that we're taking, that we're sending, to make sure that it's a clean stream. Otherwise, there is no market for it. So,
Well, and we saw that. I mean, we see that with our curbside pickup. That everything goes in one truck. I can have my container spotless, and the next guy next door is totally contaminated.
Right.
As soon as they pass his house, it's all gone.
Right.
So that's always been a problem with recycling.
Curbside recycling,
and will continue to be, and that is something that could be detrimental to continuing something like that. So yeah, please pay attention.
Yeah, it's
All right.
and it's pretty easy, and the signage is really, really on the side of the dumpster. If you have any questions, I think it's both verbal and pictorial, so it's easy to spot that out. So, and again, thank you, and I hope that we continue on and do a good thing here. So,
Thanks for coming tonight.
you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Any questions from the audience on this topic? And at any time you wish to come up to the podium, Dave, you're certainly welcome to ask a question or speak. Okay, with that, we have a couple of business items to take care of. We have item number 5 on our agenda is approval of our minutes of our October 13th meeting. You've all had a chance to read them. Can I have a motion for approval?
I move to approve the minutes from October 13th, 2020.
I'll support that. Are there any comments from
Just a typo on number 7. Other than that, it's fine.
page 7?
No, item number 7.
On the first page,
Hold on, I lost it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's one little O that needs to be
Yeah.
deleted
Yep.
before the word October. Have we lost,
yeah.
I think you just cut off everybody.
I figured that was going to
okay,
happen.
we're going to hold the meeting up for a
We
moment.
took it off DVD
Oh, it's got to be.
because that's the feed from the laptop.
Gotcha. That's where you got it plugged in.
All right, we're just checking in. We're having a little technological problems here. Phil, I see you. You're on. Phil? Can you
Phil?
hear me, Phil?
he's muted.
I hear you.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Les, you're on. Les?
Yes, I am on.
And Ryan, are you on?
Yes,
I'm on, John Reilly.
Oh, John, I thought by now you might have left. Okay. You're still on. Okay,
I'm
John.
on.
Okay, very
I
good.
supported the motion.
Oh, we didn't get it because you were out. The signal was off for a moment delay there. Thank you, though. All right.
So Budny moved and I supported the motion. There's a typo and have that corrected and let's call the vote.
all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is approval of the vouchers. Vouchers 10/1/2020 to 11/1/2020. You've all had a chance to look at those. I'll make a motion for their approval.
Support.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion's approved. We also have a statement of our revenues and expenditures for the first 7 months of this fiscal year. Unless there's a question, we'll just receive and file those. I don't hear any comments. We just will receive and file those. Next, we have the treasurer's report for the month of October.
I would make a motion to accept the treasurer's report for October 2020.
Is there
I will
support?
second that.
Okay, Les Schmidtke supported it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposition? Hearing none, motion's approved. So now we're into time for a public comment. And David, you're an elected official, you're still public. Thanks for being here. And our one citizen, Diane Van Fossen, who just spoke about glass, she has left. So there's nobody in the audience. Is there anybody online that wishes to speak from the public? Hearing none, we'll move on to action items. First item is at our wastewater treatment plant. We took bids for the installation of improvements at our primary and secondary clarifiers, and I'll turn the mic over to our director, Derek Thiel, to explain what we're doing.
Yeah, if you recall, quite a few months ago, we had recommended to the Grosse Ile Township Board the purchase of equipment for the rebuild of both primary clarifiers and secondary clarifiers, or final clarifiers, over at the wastewater treatment plant. What was recommended to the board and what ultimately was approved by the board was the purchase of equipment for clarifier tank number 3 and clarifier tank number 4. Those are the primary clarifiers, and then both final clarifiers at the plant. So the equipment was purchased. It was ordered. It's in process of being fabricated, manufactured, and delivered. We did a direct purchase with the vendor under a sole source provision. What was required to be bid was the installation of those pieces of equipment. So Raines put together the specifications for the installation. The bids were released, and we received 3 bids, and there's a variety of different options that were asked of the contractors for the installation of this equipment. So John had made a mention to me prior to the meeting about numbering the pages, and we'll do that moving forward. I know that's been a suggestion in the past, and it makes it easier for you guys to refer back to, but what I want to direct you to is under action item A, the 3rd page, which basically is the bid results from the tabulation done by our clerk's office during the bid opening. We did have 3 bids for this work, one from Monroe Plumbing and Heating, one from Weiss Construction, and one from Process Piping. Section number 1 is the installation of the equipment in primary clarifier number 3. Section number 2 is the installation of the equipment in both the final clarifiers, so those are the outside clarifiers. And then section number 3 is actually the installation of equipment for clarifier tank number 2. I had misspoke. I said 4. It's actually 2. Okay. So
Thanks for clearing that up.
yeah. So those are the 3 sections that are listed on that bid tally. If you recall, depending upon how the installation bids came back, we were going to either continue or not with the purchase of equipment for tank number 2. It's going to be my recommendation, it is my recommendation to continue with the purchase of that equipment. It's also my recommendation to go ahead and authorize the installation of the equipment in tank number 2, because the bids that came in from Weiss were very good for the installation of that equipment. What we would do is mandate, and we've already checked with Weiss, that installation happen after the beginning of the fiscal year. And the way that the schedule lays out, that's going to be fine. That will not be a problem. So that installation of the equipment in tank number 2 won't adversely affect this year's fiscal budget. We'll be able to stay within the confines of what we had originally planned. So when you take a look at it as a package, Weiss is the low bidder, not only for sections number 1 and number 2, which were bid as a package, but obviously section number 3, they were substantially lower than the other 2 bidders. We want to try to take advantage of that low bid to get that work bound so that we can get moving on that at the start of the fiscal year. So that's what you're seeing here is the installation of that equipment that we had purchased in previous motions and was approved by the Township Board, not only now, but even into the next fiscal year. So, once again, I've talked with Raines. There's a letter of recommendation in the bid packet that speaks to the qualifications of Weiss. They've checked their references, they've checked the bids, they've discussed the schedule with them, and they're confident that they're the contractor to use for these installations. So that's where we're at. That's the long and short of it. I'd try to answer any questions that you might have.
And that, what you were just talking about, that was going to be my question. Have we ever used Weiss before?
Not that I'm aware of. John, are you familiar with using them? No.
Because we are familiar with the other two.
Correct.
Do you know if Raines is familiar with them, other than checking out their background, but have they actually had work with them?
They are. In speaking with Ohio, they've worked with Weiss on other projects. I can't recall off the top of my head what local municipalities they've worked with Weiss on, but they have worked with them in the past, and they are familiar with them and their references to check out. So it sounds like they're a reputable company with a good track record.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and I want to just mention that Weiss Construction is out of Novi, Michigan. Monroe Plumbing and Heating, that was also the second low bidder, is out of Monroe. And then Process Piping, who we've used before, and the bids were pretty close. They're out of Howell, Michigan. So we have a packet here that's about 20 pages long with all the backup material. But this isn't the first time, if anybody's watching, this commission's been talking about this over the last 6 months. And we bought the equipment, as Derek mentioned, and by doing so, there's a long delivery time on this because of the fabrication. It could be 15 weeks before we get the materials that have to be installed. So we purposely set this up to buy the equipment. Actually, just on the 6% sales tax, we saved $15,000 by purchasing the equipment ourselves. And we sped up the process of getting them started to be manufactured. So this is not a new topic for this commission.
Right.
We've done it before and talked about it. So I'll open it up to any other, Laura, you're in here, Phil or Les or John Reilly. Any questions?
I can start. So
I don't have any. I don't have any.
Okay, Laura's got a question here.
the bid tabulation for section 3 says 95,000.
Correct.
Is that, but their sheet says 96,500. But that's not part of the recommendation. We're not doing section 3, or are you?
No, we are doing section number 3, but not until next fiscal year.
Okay,
So,
that number should be 96,500.
The 96 was showing on, oh, okay.
that was with regards to a different. So the bid packet is included in the action item. Let's refer back to the bid submittal. So once again, to John's recommendation, pages would be beneficial here. So section 3 total is 96.5. So the bid tally that was done by the clerk's office, which shows 95.5.
It just needs to be,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So that needs to, okay. So,
Good catch.
Yeah.
so my other question is, where does it, I had a note here. Okay, so you're doing section 3, not this time. So that's why your recommendation is just for the 256, correct?
Well, the recommendation is to do the 96.5 as well.
Okay, but not, okay,
In the next fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
After April 1st.
right, okay. So
So
that
what-
number would be 96,
96.5.
And
Okay.
and that
Plus
266 is 1 and 2.
is 1 and 2, okay, yep.
So, and I do kind of want to point to, in the history, purpose, and explanation, there's also a budget comparison to what the revised budget for this fiscal year with capital improvements, how it reflects against that, or how that compares to that revised budget. So if you take a look at and once again, page numbers would be beneficial. But the budget memo that was included in the action item, you'll see that primary clarifier rebuild replacement number 1 of 3 plus equipment for 2 of 3 was budgeted or estimated budget at $400,000. We're coming in at $428,600 with this authorization. And then on the secondary clarifier, we had in the revised budget, put that number at 180, and that budget number's coming at 186,284 with this authorization. So we're pretty close in line with what that budget revision had allocated for these capital improvements that we had discussed a couple of meetings ago. So,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
Yep.
We all have that, and actually, 2 months ago, we talked about this revised
Correct,
budget.
yes.
So, okay, anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, the motion would be appropriate, and I'll read it. It says that we recommend to the Township Board the award of a contract to Weiss Construction out of Novi for the for the rebuild of primary clarifier tank number 3 and the installation of equipment for the secondary clarifiers at an aggregate cost for installation of $266,500 plus the possibility of a 10% contingency. Furthermore, the Commission recommends approval of a contract with Weiss Construction for the installation of equipment for the primary clarifier tank 2 at a cost of $96,500 plus a 10% contingency. This work shall not take, this latter work, the 96.5, shall not take place until after April 1, 2021, which places us into the new fiscal year. Unless there's any
I
questions?
will make that motion, Bill.
Yes,
That
gotcha.
we accept the low bid of Weiss Construction.
Thank you. Is there
Support.
support? Jim Budny is supporting. No more questions. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So motion passed unanimously. Thank you.
When do you expect this to go to the board?
December.
Our December meeting?
Yep, it'll be the
Okay.
first motion or at the first meeting of the new board.
Which, yeah,
And then,
probably would be
and that'll
December.
work well with our schedule, because what actually is gonna happen is once the equipment comes in, Weiss is gonna schedule the primary and secondary clarifier installations with enough time left in the fiscal year to flow right in on April 1 with the installation in the tank, in section number 3 that we had talked about, so.
You know, Derek, I certainly appreciate all the effort you put into putting these packets together, but when this goes to the board, I think you could reduce half these pages that are in. I know you like to give us everything, but there's a lot to read here and digest, so that's just a thought. Appreciate your copious notes there. And I also want to indicate, this is going to go to the new board that will first assemble the second Monday of December, right?
No, well, it will be sworn in on November 20th, on a Friday. The board meeting, November 23rd, will probably be canceled.
Well, Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and then that's why. And quite frankly, plus it's a brand-new board, they'll have the weekend, and they need a little more time to understand what they're doing. So we're going to cancel the November 23rd meeting, so our first board meeting, business meeting, will be December 14th.
So that's the second Monday.
Second Monday of December.
And I also want to add to this that Derek and I had the good fortune of all 4 of the new trustees, and David now has been there, David Nadeau has been there, the new treasurer has been there twice, I believe. And and Jim's been there numerous times as our new supervisor. They love him at the wastewater plant. But yesterday, the 3 other trustees that are going to be on the board, they all spent 2 hours with Derek and myself touring the plant. And they've looked at all these pumps and things we're talking about installing, so we have a lot of improvements we're making at the wastewater plant. And the new trustees, who haven't even taken office yet, spent a couple hours at the plant. We walked through the wastewater plant and explained to them all the equipment that's being replaced, rebuilt, and with new installations. So I just wanted to mention, I think it's important people know that people are already studying that work. So, and I appreciate them. If anybody's watching, I appreciate all of you going there. Of course, it's It's important to learn about our facilities here. All right, so we're all set with that item.
Correct.
Item number 2 is the purchase of roadside cutting equipment. Derek?
So when we had discussed the budget for fiscal year 2021, we had discussed some of the priorities for our department. And one of the priorities that we had and was built into the budget for this fiscal year was the purchase of some equipment to assist us with roadside mowing. We currently trim roadsides in the interest of safety because the county doesn't have the resources. They don't make it out on a regular basis, and the residents expect that from a safety standpoint, these roadsides get cut. So the equipment that we currently utilize is basically a weed whip and a guy in a ditch to trim down these roadside ditch lines and also intersections, stop signs, various areas around town that are very important, whether it's pedestrian traffic, crossing a bike path where it's overgrown. All these different areas are very, very important, and with the county not coming out to do that work, it's been placed upon us to take care of these issues that the residents require us to, and really we should, by one way or another, be addressing, whether it's the county or whether it's us. So when we established the budget for this fiscal year, we had allocated some revenue to address purchasing a piece of equipment that was able to trim these areas efficiently, more efficiently than what the methods that we're currently utilizing. So when we put together the scope of work that a piece of equipment could do, we looked at a lot of different types of equipment. And what we ended up settling on is the piece of equipment that's being proposed to you tonight. And what it basically is a mini excavator. This mini excavator has a mower head that'll be attached to the end of the excavator boom. The mini excavator, will drive along the roadside, and it can trim these roadside ditches from the road using this mower that's attached to the end of the boom. We decided to go this route for a couple of different reasons. If any of you have noticed, when the county does come and do our cutting, which is very infrequent, matter of fact, they haven't been here at all this entire year, they utilize a tractor with a center PTO, and that has an articulating mower on an arm that they trim the roadside ditches from. That really is a dedicated piece of equipment. I've looked at those before in other municipalities. They run anywhere between about $150,000 and $180,000 for that piece of equipment. That piece of equipment, basically, its sole purpose is to do roadside cutting. Groseal, we don't have the ability to purchase a piece of equipment like that that's dedicated only for that purpose. We need to get more capability out of the unit than just being able to do roadside cutting. So when we looked at the type, we settled on the mini excavator because it can provide some redundancy to our loader backhoe that we use as our frontline piece of equipment when we're doing work around the township. We currently have 2 loader backhoes. One is a Cat and one is a New Holland. If this passes tonight, the subsequent action item would address disposing of that second line piece of equipment. And we don't want to hold on to any more equipment than we have to. We would want to get that one off the books, make sure we're not paying insurance and maintenance on it, so we would get rid of that if this passes. This piece of equipment provides, once again, redundancy for that loader backhoe that we have in case it should go down. A lot of communities that do their own water main breaks, they're going to mini excavators as their frontline piece of equipment to do water main breaks. And our loader backhoe that we have and we maintain does provide additional capacity to our private contractor that we have do the water main breaks. So as we take a look at the capacity of this unit, although we don't do our own water main breaks, it does provide the redundancy for the piece of equipment that we utilize to help with our water main breaks. So it serves quite a few different purposes in addition to just roadside maintenance, and we really need to get efficiency and usability out of any piece of equipment we use. We can't let something just sit in the garage for 11 and a half months out of the year. We got to make sure that it's usable 12 months out of the year, and this piece of equipment we feel does that. The funding for this unit will come from our road maintenance millage, so it's a very appropriate source of revenue to fund this piece of equipment. I think as residents think about roadside maintenance, they think roadside ditches, they think roadside cutting. So, this is a very appropriate expenditure in my mind for what the residents have allocated us funds for. The purchase arrangement would basically be over a 5-year term at about $16,000 per year. So it's not a significant amount of money that would encumber our ability to do the things that we normally do within our roadside maintenance account. So spreading it out over a period of time allows for that. And we have warranties that stretch a long duration, which encumber the majority of that financing term. We would be looking at either financing it externally or potentially internally. It would be our interest to try to save some interest costs. So in talking to the finance director, she feels that we can do it internally and just pay ourselves back within the DPW department from the roadside maintenance account. So that would save that 3% interest. So we want to make sure that we're being good stewards with the taxpayers' dollars, and that would be a good way to do that. If you recall, we had purchased a pickup truck, a new pickup truck earlier this fiscal year. That pickup truck's capacity and capabilities were designed in order to be able to carry this piece of equipment around town. So we do have a truck that can pull it around, and in the action item there's also the purchase of a trailer in order to have this piece of equipment carted around town, basically. Both the piece of equipment and the trailer are purchased under cooperative bidding. So they're purchased off of either national or state bid contracts. So that satisfies our bidding requirements and really ensures that we get a good deal on these units because we leverage the much larger purchasing capacity of both national and state bid contracts to make sure that we get the best deal that we can. A variety of attachments will be purchased with this, a variety of buckets. The mower, one of the buckets that we're going to be purchasing with it is a ditching bucket, so we'll have the capabilities to be able to go out and clean ditches if we have to. So that's adds to the capacity of the department to be able to address problems should they arise. So it's a new piece of equipment for us, but it fills a void, allows us to increase our capabilities and our capacity. And also provides redundancy for our frontline loader backhoe. So in saying that, this was the best decision in our mind for the type of equipment to purchase to satisfy these different responsibilities. So,
Well, thank you for that, and I'm going to open it up to questions. So what we're considering is to purchase this excavator mower equipment for the cost for the unit itself is $92,755. And the cost of the trailer is $11,699. This would be spread over a 5-year period for the purchase. So as it impacts our road maintenance budget, it would be about $16,000 a year. With that, I'll open it up for comments. Jim?
Thank you, Bill. I just want to clarify something. In the motion, it's the Caterpillar model 306A. Yet what we have in the packet is 306CR. Is that the same thing, or are we looking at the same thing?
The only difference is about $100, and it's the difference between a quick coupler on it and not a quick coupler.
So everything we see in the brochure, if you will, is what we're getting.
Yep. It's just the coupler.
Okay.
That's the
I
difference.
would also want to add on not only this item B, but C, D, and E. They were all passed by the board last night.
Subject to our approval.
Subject to your approval, the approval of the commission. So that has been taken care of. And then just a quick question on this. Does it have a rubber tread or?
It does have a rubber track. You cannot put a wheeled system on this because of the width. You need the stability of the rubber track. It also reduces wear and tear as far as on surfaces.
And
let's say.
that was what I was going to, is this is probably going to be going down the road and the shoulder. I mean, just width-wise, it won't be tearing up the road.
No,
Okay.
not with the rubber track, no.
The other commissioners? Les?
Well, I feel like you're overdoing it, and you're outdoing the county's work again. And once you start doing that, you'll never ever see them over here again. And I think the problem is why they're not over here right now is because they're coming over the toll bridge, and I don't know. I just feel we don't need that piece of equipment that big. That's my personal feeling.
Yeah, thanks, Les. I certainly agree with, we want to keep the county doing what they should be doing. We do have to also face reality that in doing it, we've seen them where they haven't come over at all. And this year with the bridge and everything, that might have something to do with it. But even in past years, sometimes the best they do is once. And we have to balance that against the safety of our residents. And like other things that are the county's, we can wait for them and wait for them and wait for them, or we just have to say we can pick this up and do it ourselves. And I think this, without it being a dedicated piece of equipment, the fact that it can do multiple things, that we can use it for other things, we're getting rid of a backhoe that was just a backhoe and sitting there for secondary purposes. Now we're going to have a backup that can also be used for other things. And I appreciate your thoughts. I think this is something that's probably in the overall scheme of things worthwhile.
The other thing worth noting is we did get a trade-in quote from Michigan Cat on the New Holland. They're willing to offer us $16,000 for that unit. That will be the base floor. We'll put it out for public auction, but if it doesn't meet that $16,000 reserve, we'll trade it in to Michigan Cat for that dollar amount, which will offset the cost of this purchase to that $16,000 amount. So we are going to be able to reduce the overall purchase total through the liquidation of that surplus piece of equipment. So I just wanted to add that if this passes and the next motion passes.
Okay, so Laura or Phil, I'm assuming John Reilly's left the meeting. John, are you there? If not, Phil or Laura, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, so my own feeling, and I listened to Les, and you were going to report. I think Mr. Reilly expressed his opinion on this to you.
Yeah, he was not in support of it. I think he kind of echoed some of the things that Les had said about the concerns with the county.
He's a no vote.
Right.
So
He wouldn't be. He has to be here. He has to be on to be a vote. If he's gone, he's not a vote.
Well, right. Oh, that's true. Okay. But what I wanted to indicate, I've discussed this with both John Keim and Derek, and I've been out over the last 3 or 4 years with John in all of his muddled situations he gets into where residents have asked to have the Phragmites, these tall, what's a generic description of them, that are growing in all the ditches, cleaned up, and they will flow better as well. And so my feeling is it's a lot of money for a piece of equipment, but I know these mowers that the county's state uses, a lot of big cities where they have, they're strictly a mower, but they have arms that'll hydraulically go out 6 feet on either side, and they can bring them in on one side and just have them out on the other. Those pieces of equipment cost well over $100,000. So this will give us something efficient, and I'm going to have to go with what the staff that's out there in the field is using. So I'm supportive of this. We're getting some good equipment here, and as Jim says, it's versatile. Give us some options of what we can do with it, and it'll be used more in the year than just a straight backhoe or a straight mower. So for that reason, I'm gonna vote yes. So, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a motion on the
Who
floor?
was the motion maker?
I thought,
I'm not sure that we do.
okay, I'll make the motion
And
for approval.
I'll support.
All right, so with that, we will take a vote. If there's no more comments, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Les?
Opposed?
Okay. You're supposed to say no, not opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
Anyway, all right, very good. So we have a split vote on this, but it's 4-1, I think.
Yes.
So thank you for the report, John and Derek, and we'll move forward. And thank you all for your comments. Certainly, your concerns, Les, are very warranted. Okay, item C is what you've just talked about with the backhoe, that we would put it up for sale. We have a base bid of $16,000 from CAT. Do we need to explain this any further?
I can answer any questions that you might have.
So what we have is a motion in front of us to sell our 20-year-old backhoe. It's in the sales, it's a New Holland 20-year-old backhoe. We have two backhoes, and this would get rid of the oldest one. And as was reported, CAT, who is going to sell us the mini excavator through the state bid, through the state of Michigan bid, has said that their base bid on it would be $16,000. So we're going to advertise it starting at 16 and see what we can get out of it. And that's what this motion does, is allow the staff to go out and put this up for sale.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll support.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, and I
Opposed.
assume, opposition, anybody? All right.
No, I voted to sell it because that's more money than what was offered to him when Barry Sedlock was here.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so that's been approved. The next item is our Wayne County Supplemental Winter Maintenance Agreement with Wayne County. Every year, as a township, in order to get priority ice control on our school bus routes, like other communities, like other townships, we pay a certain sum based on the prior year's activities. And this year, Wayne County is proposing a payment of $29,857. So every year we do this, we're confronted with this, and this has been going on for years. You know, the county is responsible for all the expressways in Wayne County. 75, 96, 275, 39, so forth. So they have to serve communities like ours, they got to pull one of their pieces of equipment out here when we have ice or snow conditions on school days in particular, and do our school bus routes. So this is a payment we're making for public safety for our children and for all the motorists on the island. So the sum is $29,857.
It is not.
No,
It's
27.
27.
I'm missing
Yeah,
that. That was last year. Yeah, I'm sorry. $27,340, and last year was $29,857. So this amount is for $27,340. Because we're in these COVID circumstances, only three of us up here, I'll make the motion to get this started. I'll make the motion for approval.
And I'll support.
It's been moved and supported that we approve this annual priority winter maintenance services for our local roads with Wayne County at $27,340. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Everybody voted?
Nope,
Opposed.
I'm waiting for you to say opposed.
Oh, I'm going to say it, yeah. Anybody opposed?
Yes, me. I've never voted for this even when I was on the road committee many years ago.
Okay, I know. Thank you. So we have you down, Les, as a no vote on this. And I wish we could say no, but it means a difference for us. And I understand you're principled with Wayne County. So with that, we'll go to the next action item, which is a contract change for our sewer asset management program, which is required by the state of Michigan. So we have a what's called an administrative consent order as we operate our wastewater treatment plant on the island and our sanitary sewer system. So we, one of the things we have to do, we are doing every year, we have a 5-year program that we're going to televise, inspect, put a little camera through all the sanitary sewers, pull it through from manhole to manhole, and inspect all of our sewer lines. We're in the 3rd year of that program. So by the time 2 more years expire, we will have surveyed all of the sewers on the island once, and then we got to start the process over again. What we're trying to look for are cracks or breaks in the sewer system. And one of the, so we can eliminate what's called infiltration and inflow, stormwater getting into the sanitary system. One of the things that we thought we could do possibly in-house was the required manhole inspection. So if you have a lot of manholes, and some are very deep, some are actually adjacent to the canal, you can get a lot of leakage in manholes. Now, typically what we see today, we see concrete structures for manholes that are put in the ground by contractors today. There was a time when a lot of our sewer system was built, when these were built with brick. And the mortar is deteriorated, so some of the manholes could be taking on a lot of inflow into them. We thought through our field staff, through John Keim, who's sitting here, that they were going to have time this year to go do the manhole inspections and save money. Well, we've been short-staffed because of COVID and because of illness, so we have not gotten to it. We're behind in the schedule when we have to report a year from now. So we have a contract already for this asset management plan at our wastewater treatment plant. So this recommendation is to retain the services of the engineering firm, Fishbeck Engineering, and add this to their contract that's working on our sewage plant to do the evaluation of manholes. And the estimated, I think you gave us some additional information here tonight, and I'll let you explain that.
Yeah, so there is one change, and Dave kind of mentioned it earlier in the meeting, that it's not 92.5 as the motion is written, it's actually 90,000. And I provided to you this evening basically a letter indicating the scope of services that they'll be doing for that additional change order dollar figure. So it looks like this. It's a memo from Rains, and it kind of shows, I don't know, does everybody have one? You know, the scope of work that they're going to be doing.
And indicates the new dollar amount.
Exactly, and indicates the $90,000.
And I want to emphasize, this is a budget. This is an estimate figure.
Yeah,
They're going to bill hourly to them.
Right, but it's an estimate based upon the scope of work that's indicated here.
Right.
So it should be very, very close to that dollar figure. So when we talk about the budget amendment, you'll see that it shows 95,000. That's to give us a little bit of cushion within the fiscal year to accommodate any kind of small changes in order to make sure that the budget works in case there is some overage there. But I think we should be pretty good at the $90,000 number. It's based upon their analysis of the work and the time that it's going to take to do the work that's included in this memo.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, so it's,
Is the contract with Fishbeck or with Rains?
So Rains is our primary, Fishbeck
Right.
is a sub.
Okay, so,
So the work will be run through Rains, but it'll be a contract basically with it'll be contract with Rains to their sub, but the sub will be doing the work.
okay, so your proposed motion is to allocate work. You said the original contract was between Fishbeck and Grossfield. That's
so
correct.
really our asset management program is
Was
through
with-
Rains with Fishbeck as a sub. So it's a very good point. The original contract would have been with Rains. The motion probably should reflect that it's with Rains, not necessarily with Fishbeck.
Right, that's
But
what I-
Fishbeck will be doing the work.
Right, so the contract is with Rains. Okay.
so Laura, were you on the commission when we got into that asset management plan?
No, I think you started April.
That's our fiscal year.
Right,
Right.
and I started in May, so I think you
Yeah,
started
yeah.
like right before.
Yeah, Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I was on the meeting that approved I remember reviewing their proposal.
I think you're probably thinking about their maintenance audit of the wastewater
The
treatment.
main,
plant.
you're right.
Yeah.
I think the asset management was before I
It
started.
was. Asset management was started in 2018. We talked about that last night a little bit.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
would have been a while ago
Or,
that
yeah,
this
yeah,
has been going. This is
before.
like in our 3rd year of this
Okay,
program.
yep.
So. And this is not, we're not adding additional work.
Just
to-
allocating the
We're just
work.
reallocating it from in-house to them,
Right.
just because we don't have the capacity to do it.
Right, right.
And we're having a hard time keeping up with the things we have to do. We would have loved to do this, but we've had some, staffing constraints that aren't allowing us to do that. So,
Is this the memo you're talking about?
yeah, no, it's this
Here.
one here.
I don't know if I have it.
It was just sitting on.
Yeah, and as far as our DP, Public Works staffing, we're down, with illness, we've been down to 2 people for several months now. And,
And this stuff is
Can't get
very
to it.
time consuming. I mean, it's probably gonna take Fishbeck close to 3 months to be able to do this work. And unfortunately, we can't delay this work because it needs to be completed so they can move on to the next phase, the next step. So we need to get it done so that we can continue to move forward with the schedule that we've obligated ourselves to with the state.
all right, so I don't think we have a motion because I think we start talking about it before we.
Right.
Move. So I'll move to approve the $90,000 for this manhole inspection work.
Right, and to Laura's point, it's more appropriate for the motion to actually read with the contract with Rains and not necessarily Fishbeck. That's a good catch. So we're gonna want to modify 2 things: the dollar amount that's listed in the written motion, and also the contracting engineering company.
So Rains would go in instead of Fishbeck.
Okay, so it's Rains Engineering
And then
to the
90,000.
sub Fishbeck
$90,000.
at $90,000.
Yep.
That's the
And-
motion.
And I support it.
Are there any questions, gentlemen? And Laura?
Yep, I'm good.
If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion approved. Thank you. One more item.
So, wanted to make you aware that the money is available within this fiscal year to cover those additional costs for that work that we just allocated to the engineer. We do have an account, our sewer capital outlay repair and replacement, which we've drastically underspent the budget dollar figure for this fiscal year. And I probably shouldn't start an explanation without a motion. So if you want to make a motion, I can continue on.
Well, the motion is to amend our sanitary sewer budget
Right.
so that the things that we just approved this evening, particularly the prior item of $90,000, that we can reshuffle some line items and just have everything approved
Correct.
rather than just take them out of the budget. So we're going to shift, this proposal is to shift from, and there are all these budgeted numbers, but from the capital outlay, sewer capital outlay and repair and replacement budget to the maintenance and main repair budget.
Right, correct.
So that's what the motion is, and I'll make that, we have a report in front of us, which unless you're looking at it, it's very complicated with a bunch of numbers and budget materials back up. So I'll just make a motion to start things that we approve the amendment to budget outline by changing 2 account items, 2 line items in our sewer budget to provide for the $90,000 we just approved at the prior motion.
Support.
That's a good explanation. If you look at the second page of the action item, we have $145,000 budgeted in capital outlay repair and replacement. That account is used as we TV the system and we come across a fault. We allocated money to make sure we had dollars available to make a repair. The TV work for this fiscal year is all but done. So the likelihood we're going to come across additional faults that will tax this account within the balance of the fiscal year is very unlikely. We've only spent about $7,000 to $8,000 out of this account currently, or at least at time of publication of this packet. So the likelihood that we'll achieve $145,000 is very unlikely. So what we would like to do is move $95,000 from that account into the maintenance main repair account, which is where our asset management funding comes from, which is the work that we're doing, this $90,000 that you just approved. I want you to be comfortable, and the residents and the township board, when we talked about it last night, that even though we're adding $90,000 in cost to the overall project, okay, that we have the dollars available within this fiscal year to support that. So that's what this is all about.
Well, it's just a line item change, but
It's just a
it's
shift.
being approved by us so that it's properly
Right.
done. All right, I read the motion earlier.
I supported it.
Are there any questions? Phil or Les, you're on the screen.
No questions.
No
Okay,
questions.
hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 That's everybody, so there's no opposition. Motion approved. Okay, so that was a big load of sewer-related items for the most part.
We glazed the eyes over the board last night with
Right.
all this.
So, action items are finished. Manager's report, Derek, water loss report?
13.384% for this past month, or at least the month of September. We had a very good conversation with our 4 new elected individuals regarding I&I, and explained how our plant operates and the water coming in and where it's coming from and what we're trying to do with our asset management plan and cost to operate the plant and plant capacity. So this I&I number that we have on here really kind of hit home as we were having those conversations over the past couple of days with the new township board members. Going back to the water loss report, you'll see negative numbers on there. Just keep in mind that we're really focused on the running tally here because the way we do billings don't necessarily coincide with our monthly consumption timeline. So you can have a month like this past month where we had 22,000 gallons purchased and we had 32,000 gallons that were sold. That ended up resulting in basically 9 million gallons more billed than we had purchased, but that's just because we're playing catch up. So just so you guys are aware,
I understand.
that's how it works. So just to reiterate that.
Les, you have any comment on the water loss report?
No, it looks pretty good since it's come down from 15, now it's down to 13. But, they're talking about all this infiltration. I mean, we've spent an awful lot of money on this island. And you know where it's all coming from? The footing drains.
Oh, yes,
We've
right.
gone through this thing, I don't know how many years. Even when I first started, they were talking about, where's this water coming from? Spent a whole bunch of money.
Yep,
Footing drains.
right. Well, that's right, and that's a difficult one to control. What we are trying to control is any leakage in our sewer system with all these other measures we talked about tonight. So with that, we have your DPS project update from our engineers. I'll let you have the floor again.
I'll try to blow through this kind of quick. Not much new on the Park Lane drainage project. Swan Island drainage scheduled for paving tomorrow. We've got a request in with DTE for the meter can, so hopefully that'll be finished here fairly shortly. I think the residents at that end of Swan Island will be very happy when that project is complete. Water main projects on Meridian Road, we had discussed the rebidding of that project, so nothing really has changed there. John, I don't know if you want to add anything regarding the sewer system evaluation.
Safeway Transport has completed as much of the systems they could at this time due to the access issues along the Thoroughfare Canal, so they're pretty much done for this season.
Speaking of sanitary sewer and the wastewater treatment plant, I did get the maintenance audit back on Friday, so I'll be forwarding that along to you for review.
Okay.
I do have a conversation, a meeting scheduled. I think it's the 18th or 19th with Suez regarding contracts. I know that one of the members of that meeting is currently on quarantine until the 24th. So we might have to end up pushing that meeting. I'll let you know, Jim, because I think you were going to join me in that. So,
Okay, very good.
we want to obviously have some conversations prior to that happening. So, raw sewage pump number 1. I know Ryan is on the call. I believe that work is complete. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, Derek.
Okay.
Did they do it yesterday?
Monday.
Yesterday.
It was all complete.
I saw the Suez truck out there yesterday at the wastewater plant, and they unloaded a a pump that was painted blue. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's installed. Very good.
Raw sewage pump number 4 and intermediate pumps, that still continues under our ACO improvements. The HVAC in the lab unit, Ryan had emailed me today and said that that's been installed and that's completed and working as designed. You guys initially are happy with it, Ryan, is that correct?
We're happy with it. It's working well, and we'll eventually be needing it here, so we're real happy with that.
Okay.
Oh, and then, as you recall, we'll continue to talk about HVAC systems over at the wastewater treatment plant, but this is basically going to carry us through until next fiscal year when we can have a much more thorough conversation about what we're going to do over there plant-wide. Bar screens, we're still waiting on the screens to be installed that go on the screens. So I know that should be completed here fairly shortly within the next couple of weeks. There's a statement about the ACO basis of design there. Site design is 90% complete, and OHM has been reviewing the drawings. That's at 50%. Asset management plan preparation. Inventory and condition assessment at the wastewater treatment plant, they're still working on that. And we have a required timeline of May 1st, 2021 to complete that, and we're on schedule to do that. And then obviously we had talked about the primary and final clarifier improvements. That's scheduled to go to the Township Board in December. So.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Report. Then next is DPS maintenance lead, John Keim. As far as our field activities, anything to report?
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to let everybody know that the fire hydrant winterization program has been completed, so we're good for the winter on that. The hydrant maintenance program will continue through the end of December, weather permitting. And we began our annual leak detection survey, and we're about 50% complete with that at this time.
Okay, good.
One additional item I want to add to John's report. John and I sat down for probably 4 hours about 2 weeks ago with Eagle to do our 3-year water system sanitary audit, and that went well. We will be receiving a letter from Eagle indicating some pieces of information that we need to get to them, and they'll make some suggestions as well as future programs to implement and some changes that we can make to make sure we're doing everything that we need to be doing, but no deficiencies were noted. There are just going to be some suggestions. One of the things that's worth noting is the implementation of a residential cross-connection program, which has implications to our residents, especially those with sprinkler systems, that they're going to be asking that we start to work on. So that, I'm sure, will come to the DPS Commission. You guys will have to have some good conversation about that on how we want to handle it. But thanks to John for for being the operator on the system and running a good system, because she was very impressed with the things that we're doing. So just to let you know, we just recently had that.
Very good. John, anything else?
I'd like to say Happy Veterans Day to Les and all the veterans out there, and to let everybody know that the DPS will be closed tomorrow in honor of Veterans Day.
Les, I don't know any of us that have served. Congratulations and thank you to all those who have served.
Oh,
You want to speak,
thank
Les?
you. Pardon?
You want to speak?
Is it the commissioner's report now?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'm waiting.
All right. Next is our wastewater treatment plant. Any update, Ryan? All night we've been talking about the wastewater plant. Is there anything else that we failed to talk about that you would like to talk
Hello,
about?
everyone. No, you guys pretty much wrapped it up. We've had low flows at the plant because we haven't had any rain lately. River levels are low right now, but nothing more to add.
All right. Well, thank you very much. for being on.
Well, I got one question to ask him.
You're welcome.
How
ahead.
is the elevator working?
It's working. Yeah.
That's an improvement.
You're not having continuing problems
Yes,
with
it
it.
is. So it's running. Yep.
All right, good. So with that, discussion items, I'm going to want to discuss Meridian, only to ask you, we had traffic counts done on Meridian.
Right.
We thought that that would be a necessary step in order to make ourselves eligible for some funding to compete with our bigger communities that surround us in terms of getting on the county's needs list to improve sections of Meridian. You don't have those with you tonight, right?
I do not have them with me tonight, but I will forward them to you so that everybody can see them tomorrow.
Or sometime this week.
Okay.
So as far as a discussion item, then instead of my chairman's report, I'm just going to do a discussion now. So July 15th, we sent a letter to the county about Meridian. And we thanked them for all the work they're doing on the bridges. But we said now that everybody drives Meridian, we're getting a lot of comments about how bad Meridian is. And, you know, we're always up against this with the county about, they say we got bad roads all over. Well, I've been to the airport a couple times, Metro Airport, in the last couple of weeks, drop somebody off, pick somebody up, and, well, they're right. And there's a couple miles of Pennsylvania that are in terrible shape as you get out near Telegraph. And there's, of course, we all know how bad Eureka Road can be out by the airport, where you can see re-rods sticking up through the concrete and so forth. So there's a bad section I drove on Inkster Road as well. So, and of course, the county services roads, 7 Mile, Ford Road in Canton Township, 7 Mile in Livonia, Jefferson and Grosse Pointe. We lose track of that sometimes. I mean, a lot of roads in our county. So our point was we wanted to get on the lists so that we could be eligible for federal funding, 80% money. All the improvements the county makes is 80% money coming from their allocation of the federal dollars, and they get about 15 to 20 million a year for that. They do about 15 to 18 miles a year. We haven't benefited from that source of funding in a long time. The only roads eligible are Meridian, Parkway, and certain sections of East River on our island for that federal money. Based on traffic volumes, traffic accidents, we don't have the volumes. Luckily, we don't have the accidents. And it's also based on the bumpy conditions of the road surface, and Meridian is very damn bumpy. So we've been trying to meet with the county to set that up. So sent the letter July 15th. The only response we've really had is that we're spending $12 million on your bridges. They're really county bridges, but they're spending them on the island. And you're asking for road money? Yeah, we are going to ask for road money. We don't expect it next year or 2022, but we at some point we need to get it for Meridian. I mean, it's in bad shape. So we wanted to take the traffic counts so we could at least compete with other communities, because the only option is Wayne County would do the traffic counts, and who knows where that would end up. So what my intention is in the next week or so to work with Derek to send another letter as a follow-up, because they didn't address the two issues we were asking for. One, to get on the metropolitan-wide transportation plan. Laura, you're familiar, it's called the TIP. We're not on that plan for Meridian. And second, that's a 4-year plan for all road improvements throughout Wayne County, Oakland County, Washtenaw County, Macomb County. It's the region. And then second, to get on Wayne County's top 100 list, their top 100 projects, which is primarily based on traffic volumes and road condition. In 2015, the letter says that we sent, in 2015, we were on that list. We were number 85, I think, which meant we were 3 or 4 years away from it getting any funding if we kept moving up. And then by 2018, we were off the list because other roads, they determined based on their assessment of accidents, traffic volumes, condition of roads, we didn't make the 100 anymore. So that's flying in our face. And that was a discussion that we had in 2015, 2018, when we went to the voters and asked for approval of some money. And I understand, nobody wants to pay more taxes. But we also have to understand, we can't rely on Wayne County to repave our roads. So I just want to explain, my intention is to send an updated, a nice letter, strongly worded, saying, you missed our point. We want to be on these two lists so that someday we potentially could be set for some grant funding like Fort Street, like Jefferson. And incidentally, I don't know where it stands, but Wayne County was going to resurface Jefferson this year all the way from Sibley Road to Pennsylvania, right past our bridge, until they realized that, oh, well, we can't do that if the county bridge is closed because all the traffic, you can't have Jefferson under construction. And it was Derek and I that called that to their attention. That would have been a real mess. But at any rate, we're going to go back to them and hit them up on Meridian, and I just wanted to let everybody know we're going to do that. So, and let those that are listening tonight know we're working on it. The county is spending $12 million, maybe more, on our bridges, and that comes out of their road dollars. But they're their bridges. We can't help it. We live here. We're glad we live here. So at any rate, I just wanted anybody that's listening to know we're going to go back and try to get them to listen to us on Meridian. They missed the point. They thought we were asking for immediate dollars. We'd like immediate dollars, but we want to be on those lists so we can get some assistance. So that's it for me. I'm going to go around for the commissioners' comments. We'll start with Laura. Laura, anything?
I have nothing to add, no.
Okay, and I'm going to hold you off for a minute. And then I want to go to Les. Les?
Okay, I got a couple of comments. Number one, you put a counter out there to count the traffic on Meridian. Well, I think you did this at the wrong time. You should have done it after the bridge is open, because there's a lot of people from the north end of the island that come down Meridian to go over the county bridge. And right now, they're all shuffled to the north end. So your count, if you put that count out again after that bridge opens up, you're going to see a completely different count. I wouldn't even let them know that you did the first count.
Les, can I make a comment?
Go ahead.
I disagree. We have a tremendous amount of people going over the traffic counters were set up near Horse Mill, before you got to Horse Mill, before people could turn off. And everybody that lives at the north end, eventually they're going to go to the drugstore or go to drive their kids to school or go to Kroger's or something of that sort. Now, a lot of people could just come and go off the island, I grant you, and we'd never get them anyway. But right now we have a constant line of traffic going, and we waited till school started. So we didn't want to do it in the summer when people were gone. I guess you could argue both points, but I think we're going to show our highest traffic counts right now. And to me, I would say to the county, if they say, well, the bridge was closed, naturally it's going to be high. Well, they're going to close the bridge frequently, for a day like they've always done. A day here, a day there to do some maintenance on it. So they got to be realistic about it. So I understand what you're saying.
But at the same time, you have a lot of kids that studying from home, so you can factor that and say, when things are back to normal, you're going to have more traffic.
I like that point. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Good point. And then the people from the north end didn't go over it either. I'm going to take your point too. Okay, what do you want to talk about next? Sign?
Okay, the next thing is 45 years ago today, we were working on a water main break on Barbara Lane. And 45 years ago today is the day the Edmund Fitzgerald went to the bottom. And when we were working on that water main break, that storm that came through here blew so hard that the river over between Girls Hill and Stony, it looked like a little creek. They must have had water coming out their ears over in Buffalo, 'cause it blew, let me tell you. So that was 45 years ago today, and we had a water main break underneath the fire hydrant, which was a nightmare. Also, the other thing that I want to mention today, it's a happy birthday, 245 years today that the United States Marine Corps was formed. Semper Fi. That's
Very
all I
good.
got to say.
Well, I'm glad you brought both those items up, Les. Thank you very much. Phil?
Yeah, I just have one comment to Derek. The latest lake level report that came out for October, and it forecasts ahead a few months. They don't go too far ahead. We've had greater than average declines in October and into November. And for months now, we've heard we can't look at anything on the Park Lane project because they're unable to do topo work. I would urge you to see if Rains maybe hasn't dropped that off the schedule or anything, because we probably have a 2-month opportunity before the levels are going to start back up again. And we are lower than average right now, not lower than average, but lower declines than we've had in the last couple of years, and greater than average declines. So I would just hope we can get that project at least to the point of where we can decide which direction we're going to go on it.
It's a good point, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. That's a good suggestion. Anything else?
And the money is even at this end of the island as to whether the paving's actually going to happen tomorrow. So anybody that wants to get in on the pool is welcome to join.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
All right. And then last, Jim Budny.
Thanks, Bill. I have nothing business-wise, but I do want to say this is my last meeting as liaison to the Public Service Commission. I've been on this commission for 9 years. I was on for a year before I ran for trustee, and when I became trustee, I became liaison of this commission. So I've been liaison for 8 years, and I've seen most every commission in this township, and in my estimation, by far, this is absolutely the best commission. It should be the model for everybody else. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I truly hate to leave as a commissioner, even though I will be around, and I plan on attending as many of these meetings as I can, because I'm a strong supporter of this commission and this department. I want to thank absolutely every commissioner on here for the job that they do. I want to thank John and Derek, certainly, for the jobs that they do, and the ability to work with them. They're great to work with. I look forward to working with you as supervisor and getting the things done that we need to do for this township. And Bill, I absolutely want to thank you for how you've treated me and all you've taught me. I truly appreciate it and your friendship. Thank you very much.
Jim,
Thank all of you.
Jim, I saved you for last because number one, I speak for the whole commission. We want to congratulate you on becoming supervisor.
Thank you.
And we all want to express our gratitude for how hard you've worked for this commission. You haven't missed a meeting that I can think of. Not just these formal meetings, but all our extra meetings, all our time we spend interviewing garbage firms and running out on complaints and drainage issues. You've always been Johnny on the spot out there, and you've made everything that is possible. And how many times have you been to the wastewater plant? I can't even count, I don't think. So I sincerely mean it. You've been a great member of this commission. I've appreciated your support and your counsel on various items, and we have accomplished a lot. The roads are a mess. We've tried, but our water system, we've replaced miles of water main since you've been on. Numerous sewer problems. We got a TV program and to look at our sanitary and storm sewer systems. Solved a lot of people's drainage problems over the years, and done a lot of roadside improvements and other improvements. And you've always been there with a positive attitude, and I want to thank you sincerely.
Thank you.
We all wish you well in the next 4 years.
Thanks. I'll need it. I am trying. You know, in one of the things that I want to do is leave you with the best possible liaison to continue on and keep this commission as good as it is, and I will do that. And as I said, I plan on attending these meetings as often as I can.
Thank you very much. We look forward to that and working with you on as we go into next year through 2021.
Yep. And believe me, we will be talking about roads.
Very good. So we don't. Our next meeting that's planned, we probably won't have a meeting in December unless something comes up. Our next meeting that's planned is for sure February 9th.
Yeah, and we'll be discussing at that meeting budgets and also be discussing bid results for the water main project on Meridian. So the timing works okay for us not to have a meeting until then, but those will be two very large
Unless
topics.
something comes up.
Yep, unless something comes up.
And when Derek mentions budget, just in case anybody's watching, we actually start budget discussions in early January, right after the holidays. And we get into the very, very details for our water system, our sanitary system, our storm drain system, our refuse contracts, our wastewater treatment plant contracts, and all our public works operations. So, and what little road money we have, what are we going to do? How are we going to spend it? And this commission, in the past, that we end up having about $125,000 a year. And in the past, we would all get together in the spring, you know that, Jim, and we would map out a route along with John's help and now with the director, and we would drive the roads and say, well, let's put our money into repairs here. And we've spent a ton of money, well spent, on Gray's Drive by the high school with those concrete roads, Park Lane and both Gray's Drive, and elsewhere. This year we did 3 intersections, asphalt improvements that were badly needed with that money. And we did a lot, about $50,000 worth of crack sealing and a lot of our asphalt roads spread throughout the community where we needed to do it to try to preserve the pavement on neighborhood streets. So at any rate, we start our budget discussions right after the first of the year, and our goal in February at our meeting is to approve a budget for the next year that we submit to the Township Board, and they deal with it through all the month of March with all the Township departments, police, fire, public services, recreation, and everything else. So that's our schedule for now, in case something changes. So with that, I'll entertain a motion I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Support?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All right,
Aye.
thank you, Phil and Les, for hanging in there. It's not fun
And
being
this is to Jim Budny. We're gonna miss you, man.
Thank you, Les.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. We're off the
See
air.
ya.
Good night.